So Evan, so tell us about addressable, why it's important, why you guys are leaning in, and sort of what the plans are.
Yeah, as our content continues to grow and the platforms that we work with continue to grow, the ability to reach the right household or the right consumer at the right time is growing to be a much more important mechanism for us to offer our clients. So the ability to allow us to do targeting down to more attributes than just demo is something that we need to be able to provide to our clients. And thinking about the size of our audience and how much we know about those people, I think it's important for us to be able to slice that up in a way that we can reach unique audiences and deliver them the right advertisement at the right time.
So Evan, could you explain the amount of inventory that can be addressable now and sort of where you're hoping to go?
Yeah, we're approaching it in two ways. So we're trying to make as much of our inventory, whether it be linear or digital, addressable. We've started with a couple of pilots that we've been pioneering, one of them being the on addressability product that we're doing across Comcast Charter and Cox through Canoe. And then the other one that we work with is Project OR. We're one of the founding members of that consortium where we can deliver addressable advertising to connected TVs on the Vizio footprint.
So how big will this be? Like how do you sort of foresee the rollout of addressability for AMC and for the opportunity for your advertisers?
You know, it's not easy. I'll tell you that much. These technologies are new for businesses like AMC Networks. It's new for the buyers and the agencies that we work with today. But it's not new for what we've seen in the digital space when it comes to innovation. So as we continue down this path, it's important for us to figure out how to tie it all together. So right now, as we look forward into the market, we're kind of running a few different pilots today that cut across digital inventory and linear inventory. And our goal moving forward is stitching these products together to have a full addressable offering, regardless of where the consumer is viewing the content and engaging with our programming.
So there's been a lot of discussion about national enablement through the screen. What are your thoughts about national enablement? Is that part of what you guys are doing?
It is, and that's what separates our offering from the market today and what's available for marketers. Addressable advertising historically has been at the local level. We've been able to launch and deliver national addressable targeting on our linear channels. And that's a big deal because now if you think about an advertiser, it doesn't have to go to each individual endpoint to stitch together a national addressable campaign. They can come to AMC Networks and reach our entire footprint, regardless of the platform that the consumer is engaging with the content.
And just tell us a little bit about the point of view expectations from advertisers. Clearly, this is a different kind of a buy. There are certain costs involved, there's certain expectations involved. What do advertisers expect around an addressable solution?
I think we're both learning. You know, the addressable solutions deliver and track performance and delivery differently than a traditional linear buy. So it's impression based versus unit based. That's for one. For two, there's a lot more fees involved. And at onset, we're trying to work with our advertisers to understand how to make it extremely successful versus focusing in on each cost along the way. But I do feel that us as an industry, we need to come together and understand the more targeted the advertising, the more cost that will be involved. But those costs should be outweighed by performance because we're slicing up the audience and the delivery in a much more granular way.
A lot of talk about data-driven addressability, and there is a lot of data and a lot of measurements. Some people say that there's certain missing links. We hear a lot about Nielsen's initiatives. How does data drive what you do, and what would you need perhaps to be better?
Well, I think the recent announcement by Nielsen builds a lot of confidence in all of us because they're building the tools and the measurement capabilities to track media in this way versus the ways that they have been for however long we want to say they've been doing it. I think the help that we need is to really come up with common currencies across these inventory types so we can all be tracking to the same metric. And the help that we need, I think, is both on the buyer and the seller side to understand those differences in the way that they used to buy media and the way that addressable advertising changes and reports differently.
And finally, I wanted to ask about the programmatic pipes a little bit, not to get too deep in the weeds, but the value of an SSP and how that's changed and what you look for.
It's, capabilities are still a big part of the value of an SSP. While demand will be similar within each platform, there are systems today that are much more forward leaning into capabilities like addressable advertising. So we work with a handful of SSPs from SpotX and PubMatic and a few others. What we're doing with SpotX today is supporting our IP-based addressable capabilities and trying to make that work within a programmatic marketplace. The irony in it is addressable advertising or audience-based advertising has always been the center of programmatic buying. So it's a capability and a measurement and tracking capability that the market's been used to. So it's a much easier transformation into that type of buy within the digital environment compared to some of the learnings that were coming on the linear side.
So, Evan, it sounds like you've been deep in the coal mine with this addressable work, as so many of us have been. What do you see the next year, the opportunities, the rollout, the maturity, perhaps, if this will be the year of addressable TV? What's next?
I think next is really perfecting the technology that can bundle a lot of this together for us. Because while we are delivering national addressable campaigns, there are still many different systems that we work with today. And they all reach and provide the same capability, but they all operate a little bit differently. So coming up with a common standardization or bundled way for us to traffic those campaigns internally would be easier, I would say. But I think as we look forward in the coming year, it's going to be a lot of adoption around the measurement, agreeing on measurement, as well as the way that deals perform is going to be what we're going to see coming in the next year.